Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Let's see. Thank you, everybody, for logging on. We're going to give it the standard 2-minute cushion here.
Making sure that for those of you that are joining us, are you able to hear us okay? Anyone just give us a thumbs up or put it in the chat. I'm trying to watch the chat as we're navigating.
We need music in the background. I keep
I
forgetting that.
know. I see a thumbs up. Thank you very, very much. We are definitely expecting a few more participants here. So again, as Bob said, we're going to give it at least another minute. The standard 2 minutes. We are on a recorded line, just making sure everyone is aware of that. As we're talking today, if you have a question, just feel free to raise your hand, drop something in the chat. Let us, give us some signal that you've got a question. And we definitely are looking for you to be interactive with us today. And this time is absolutely for you.
Well, Shelly, should we go ahead and dive in?
Bob, I was just checking that. I think you're ready to go.
All right. Absolutely. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining. I'm Bob Wagener. I'm the Vice President of Business Development here at Canna Advisors. Canna Advisors, we're headquartered in Boulder, Colorado. Been in business since end of 2012, so over 13 years now. I'll give you a little slide here. Over that 13 years, we've worked with hundreds of clients spanning 39 US states. I've personally been with Canada Advisors. I'm into my 10th year, and I've worked in 36 US states as well as Puerto Rico, Guam, Canada, New Zealand, a couple others. So it's been a long adventure, thoroughly enjoying it, and been working in Minnesota since the law first passed and enjoying watching the industry get up and running. I'll let Shelly and Justin jump in.
Wonderful. Well, welcome everyone. And we are super excited to be having the conversation with all of you today. I'm Shelly Dow. I'm with United Prairie Bank. I'm our Chief Operating Officer here, leading our cannabis program. And I'll have Justin introduce himself as well. Justin, go ahead, and then I'll circle back around on who we are.
Hello, everybody. My name is Justin Day. I'm the kind of lead business banker here at United Prairie Bank in the cannabis division.
Wonderful. And we are a bank that is headquartered here in Minnesota. We are a family-owned state chartered bank that, we've been in business for over 50 years. We are looking at and continuing to support the cannabis industry. We've been in the industry since the 2018 Farm Bill. So we had a number of low dose customers, hemp customers, low dose THC customers that have banked with us for a number of years. And in the last year, as Minnesota has gotten closer to going live, came forward and said, hey, we are interested in getting our license and going into the adult use side of it. Since that, about a year ago, you'll see from the map that's on the screen, the little black dots are where our branches are located today. The leaves or the marijuana leaf gives you an idea as to where our active customers are at this moment. So you will see that they are scattered throughout the state of Minnesota. That number continues to grow. And we are looking at, we are supporting both from a deposit, lending, cash management side of the business. We're a full service institution. And one of the biggest things for us is that we are looking to really help drive the cannabis industry in reference to financial services, making financial services readily available to all of you. And that's both on the deposit and the loan side of the business. So I'm going to pause there. Justin, anything to add?
We're having a ton of fun, getting to meet so many, phenomenal advocates of the cannabis industry throughout the state. For me, getting to hear everyone's story, learning what spin they want to put on the industry. And our goal is to bring true community banking to the cannabis space. So having a ton of fun under Shelly's leadership, and just happy to be in the trenches with everyone.
And I just want to add for Shelly and Justin that, having been doing this for almost a decade across the country, one of the greatest challenges new cannabis businesses have faced is finding banking. Often as states are coming online, you can't even find banks to open checking accounts at. And it's been such a pleasure to work with Shelly and team as they not only support banking, but become a full service bank for the cannabis industry. They're ahead of their time and doing a great job. And I think that the businesses of Minnesota should be thankful to have a bank like United Prairie Bank in the industry.
Thank you, Bob. And just for clarification for all of you out there, exactly, we are here in Minnesota. We generally support, Minnesota is definitely our target market, but we do support the Midwest. And so what does that look like? We are open to other conversations as well. And as Bob said, we're full service. We are partners with you. We want to hear your stories. We want to be able to understand where your hurdles are at. We are very influential within the market. So you will, as we have a further discussion, you will find that we will have a debit card for you as a business customer. We will have a solution for you to be able to take a debit card as a transaction, as a point of sale terminal. And it's part of the things that we are doing in the industry to move the needle to bring financial services to the cannabis industry. Bob, I'm going to leave it at that so we can actually get kind of into what we're really trying to talk about today.
Absolutely. So here we are. Minnesota's adult use cannabis rollout. It is underway. This first active slide here is just an update on where we're at in the rollout. Everybody who's involved at this point has been through the long process of the application, the social equity process, the lottery, and here we are. If you're listening, you probably have a pre-approval and you're well underway to building your business. So what's left from here is the process of actually get it up and running. You need to secure funding. Really can't do anything unless you know you're properly funded going forward. Once you have funding identified, you need to secure your property, get your local approval. You have to build out your facility, submit your final plans of operation, get your facility inspected, and then secure your operating license. And that's quite a massive task, and you have to complete it within 18 months of your pre-approval being issued. So there isn't time to waste. You should actively be whatever stage of this rollout you're in, you should be actively working towards that end. That 18 months goes by quickly. So step one typically is financial modeling. And this is regardless of what level of fundraising you need to do. To really do this right and do it properly, you need a really clear picture of what it's going to cost you to get your business up and running, what it's going to cost to operate, and what you can reasonably expect to generate in revenue. And you need that for your own business sense, not just for other people, but it is valuable for more than just fundraising. First of all, a good financial model is a feasibility study. It's a dose of honesty. You cannot just throw together numbers and think getting a cannabis license is the opportunity to print money. It's not. It's a business like any other business, and you have to do things smart. We've often been engaged to do financial models for clients, and when they see the actual cost of getting things up and running, in some cases we've had clients decide it's not for them, and that's certainly not the outcome you want. But you'd rather pay for a financial model and learn that than get halfway through your build out and realize it wasn't what you were expecting. So just that dose of honesty is the first thing. The second thing is having a good financial model makes it easier to talk to the people you need to speak to. So getting local permits, getting local approval, when you can show that you have a well thought out and planned financial model, it gains credibility and makes it easier to go through those processes. And then, of course, really the number one thing is fundraising. You need to bring in some money to make your dream come true. and they're going to want to see these financial models. Banking, as you meet with Shelly and team, being able to show here's what we're doing can help that conversation. Team building, if you need to bring in a director of cultivation or a manager for your dispensary, being able to show your dream, what's going to happen, can build the confidence that you can use to hire good people. Securing a property. Your landlord wants to know you're going to be able to pay that rent. So showing a model that's realistic, that can build confidence from a landlord, can help you win out and get that property you're looking for. And Shelly and Justin, feel free to jump in anytime.
Absolutely. Yes, keep going.
I'll keep moving along through the financial model. So a couple things to consider when you're doing a financial model in Minnesota. Because every state is different, the license types, the timing, you cannot just create a financial model that is everything starts at once. So for instance, if you're a meso or a micro and you do plan on cultivating and dispensing and producing, are you doing it all at once, or are you going to start with cultivation, open your dispensary, begin processing, open a second dispensary? Your financial model has to show that in a realistic order, so that you can't just have suddenly your dispensary revenues coming in on day one, even though you haven't started cultivation. So it has to be built around the type of license, the order in which you're going to receive your endorsements, and then realistically show your cash balance as you go through that. The assumptions are probably the most important part of a good financial model. And this is what investors will be looking at. If you created your own financial model, it may be wonderful, might be an incredible financial model, but I would suggest getting your assumptions reviewed by a consultant or a third party, so that when you're meeting with lenders and they say, well, where did you pull these numbers from? You can say, well, they were reviewed and endorsed by so-and-so. I'll give you a couple examples. I've seen some financial models out there that have the price per pound at wholesale, at close to $4,000 in Minnesota to start with. That's a little high. It could happen. But if you build your model and that doesn't come down proportionate to the market growing, if 3 years out you're thinking you're getting that per pound at wholesale, that's ridiculous, and people are going to notice that. So having the proper assumptions, having the proper revenue, not overstating, expenses, timeline to profitability, and that plays into what's opening first. It has to match your story, the timeline. These financial models serve as the foundation for your pitch deck, your business plan, your investor talks. The whole goal is to build that confidence. You also need to update different iterations to meet the funding possibilities. So make sure as you build your model or you obtain a model that it's something that you can run an aggressive version and save, and do a conservative version, do a version that does all equity fundraising, do a version that does debt, do a combination, so that your one model can be versatile and used for different things. Building a business plan. The business plan is the story. The financial model is the skeleton, right? It's what's going to hold it up. But the business plan is your opportunity to tell your story. It gets into, I don't want to say fluff, but it's more exciting. It's where the excitement comes. About your team, where your operation is going to be, what makes you different, why are you going to be successful? And within your business plan, you're pulling the highlights of your financial model. So, you're giving that 3-year statement in there, some staffing information. And if an investor is interested, they're going to ask to see the backup. You can't show a business plan that has a annual financial statement, and when the investor says, well, where's the model? Well, that is my model. That's my financial statement. A financial statement is not a financial model. It's just a snapshot, and you've got to show how you came to all of those different numbers.
Yeah. Bob, another thing, especially if you're meeting with a bank or, someone that's really truly looking to make that investment in you, is they're looking to look at the details behind that model. One, they want to hear your story. They want to They want to believe in you. They want to understand your vision. And so telling your story is so important. And that's really truly putting it into that business plan. But then we begin to ask the questions behind it of what are you thinking at? What type of modeling have you done? What are you planning for from in terms of expenses? And what are the different points that you're looking at that you could be seeing income come in at? What's something that's very aggressive, and then what's something that's lower end and not as aggressive, and where might you be if you're in the middle. And so we're going to look at it from all angles, but we do look at those specific details to understand how are you thinking about what the business will look like, and are you prepared for wins, and when things get really good, or if the winds start to blow a little bit, how long can you sustain some type of a downward turn? Back to you, Bob.
Yeah, absolutely. So the core components of a solid business plan, and I won't read off the bullet points, but here they are. You have to make sure you cover all of these. These are the points that an investor or a bank are going to be looking for, and addressing in your business plan your challenges is important. So having a SWOT analysis, your target market, and having a realistic target market. So if you're a cultivator, you can realistically show the state as your target market because you could sell anywhere in the state. If you're a dispensary, you have to have you can show the expectation for the entire state. Your target market is the demographic within a reasonable distance around your one property. And your SWOT analysis would include that here's where we're located, in this municipality is allowing 3 dispensaries. So you have to understand you're going to be a portion of that market and be realistic about it. And then at the end of it, exit plans. People always underestimate the exit plan. If you're raising money based on equity, people want that back at some point. They want to see there is an end game. So having an exit plan built in always helps as well. And then, so what are investors? And this is obviously where Shelly and Justin come in, but they're looking beyond the numbers. The numbers have to be appealing, but they're looking for things that essentially reading between the lines. One of the things in a business plan is a description of the ownership team. And so you can start showing things in your business plan that strengthen your story that don't necessarily directly correlate to your cannabis plans. So for instance, if you or one of your team members owns another business that is successful and cash flowing, they want to know about that. If there's collateral that could be used for a loan from other businesses or other sources, they want to know about that. I think, Justin, you had a story about that part?
Yeah, and just the landscape of adaptability. I mean, I was working with a team here earlier today and, financing a build out of an existing building. I've got a, successful farmer who's pledging 573 acres of land to help see this through. And on our end, it not only shows your commitment, but it also shows just the viability of the opportunity. So, we've seen all sorts of fun stuff from, um, cabins and, farmland to, buildings and, being able to refinance other properties to absorb this. Opportunity in the cannabis space. It's really been, every day is different. Every story is different. And that's been the fun of things for us, but it really comes down to understanding the viability and the efficiency of that. My professional mantra is the more I know, the more I can help. And so being able to present that and do it in an efficient manner helps me do my job, more efficiently. So it's certainly been great to be able to be on the leading edge of that and, getting that message across.
I think the only thing
yeah,
I was just the only thing I was going to add there, Bob, was exactly what Justin is saying is we really want to understand you. We want to know the whole picture. We want to be able to creatively help you think about how to help get you the funding that you need for this business. But what are the stakes in the ground here that we can work with? What are the stakes that we can move and be able to come up with those solutions? And with that as well, it helps us be able to put the picture together of, hey, if we stay on track, things are good. If there's a bump in the road here, where are we going to be able to tap into things if we need to? And so that's part of that conversation that we will engage with you on, and we will get down into a lot of weeds and really think about how do we flexibly put a plan together for you.
And it really does come down to the bottom bullet point here. Are you positioned to succeed? And there's a lot of different paths to get to success. So just looking at the path you're on and making sure that you have the pieces to get there, is what banks and lenders are looking for.
Correct.
So funding strategies, traditional versus non-traditional. Obviously, the cannabis industry is non-traditional. It's making a transition, but historically, most of the funds coming into cannabis businesses have been from non-traditional sources. So traditional banking and lending, it's great to have Shelly and Justin explaining that they're willing to do it and how they're doing it. And with traditional banking, it's almost always through secured loans or lines of credit. Banks are not looking to get equity in your business for the most part. So, using your business as collateral, that's almost scary because in most cases, they don't want to own a cannabis business. So you have traditional banking and lending making more of a play in the industry and becoming a more increased source. Private equity, historically, this has been the primary source of investment for cannabis. A few years ago, it was very active. It has dried up a little bit just because cannabis is going through an evolution as certain states mature. So private equity it's still out there. It's just a little bit more difficult to find the investors. Social equity, specific grants, loans. Minnesota does have some things in the works that might be available. I can tell you that we've seen many states have great concepts for grants in helping social equity. Very few have ever come through with it. So I wouldn't rely on that, but I'm pleasantly surprised to see things moving forward. Crowdfunding or community funding is an option. Friends and family, we have carefully there. You certainly don't want to impact relationships, but friends and family really is a good source for getting at least that startup capital. Joint ventures, I think we're going to see as we get through this 18-month period, you might have groups that have their own pre-approval, but fall short of raising what they need to get started. And you might see some joint ventures where teams come together to create something that's more viable. As we were already talking about, using collateral like real estate to get started, and it would be other real estate. Whether it's a commercial building you own or something else, you can often mortgage that to get the startup capital you need for cannabis. And then there is some people will use inventory as collateral, but you have to be up and running. So that would be more of an expansion move. The search for funding, where do you go? And this is probably one of the biggest questions we encounter right now. Everybody is looking for investors. So what you really need to do is network. Friends and family are certainly a primary source. If you've got cousins, relatives, family, neighbors, just let people know that you are starting a cannabis business and you're looking for investors. Work contacts, whether it's your existing boss, whether it's somebody you used to work for, don't hesitate to send out emails, just checking in with people and saying, oh, by the way, I'm starting a cannabis business. Do you know anybody who might be interested in investing? Obviously, we're seeing more banks start to play a role. Private equity, it's out there. The best place to find private equity is through your social network, LinkedIn, Facebook. Talk about what you're doing. And there are some private equity firms that are openly pursuing investment, so you'll find them online. Local business contacts. I've had clients, say they were in their favorite restaurant and they mentioned to the owner, "Hey, I'm getting into cannabis," and the owner started asking questions. So just letting them know what you're looking for is just a way to start the conversation. And I think sometimes people want to be a little secretive that they're getting into cannabis, and that's the wrong method. Um, it's tough to ask people for money, but you can look at right now in 2025, cannabis is expected to do just over $44 billion in the United States. By 2030, it's projected to do over $100 billion. This is an industry that's growing 18% a year over year. And that's exciting for investors. That's exciting to people. So talking about it, getting it out there, going to networking events, that's really your source of how you're going to start finding investors. And one will lead to another, lead to another. Structure of funding. You have essentially debt funding in equity. Debt financing is you're taking a loan and you're going to pay that loan back over an agreed upon period of time at a set level of interest. And the benefit of that is you're not giving up ownership of your company. The downside is you're going to have a monthly payment that's going to impact your cash flow. It is predictable though, so it's easy to put into your financial model and see how it impacts your cash balance over time. Equity financing is when you're giving up ownership of the company in exchange for money. The benefit there is you don't have to pay it back. It's not going to impact your cash flow. The downside is you've got to give up percentage ownership. And there's also some benefit if you can find investors that bring a strategic link. Often you'll find landlords might be interested in investing. And if your landlord owns a small chunk of your business, they're vested in your success. So, anywhere you can try to get a strategic partner, maybe it's an attorney that's going to give you some legal service as well as buy-in, because now they're vested in your success. And often it's a combination of both. People might want some equity, but know they're getting some of their money back. So the structuring is you're going to get creative to get done what you need to get done. With the structure of debt, when you get to the end of your pitch deck, you need to give an investor value statement. Why should they invest in you? You have to have an ask. This is how much we're looking for. This is how we're structuring it. And this is the value to you. And just as an example, for debt, you would at the end say something like, if you invest X amount today, you can expect to be paid back over this set period of time at an interest rate of X for a total repayment of this. And so they have to look at that and say, yeah, that's an exciting opportunity. For equity, you have to show what you project the value of the company to be 3 years from now and say, if you invest X amount today, you'll receive this percentage of ownership of our business. And we expect the business to have this valuation in 3 years, making your investment of X now worth potentially Y. And that can be exciting because as these businesses get up and running, the valuation goes up. So people can grow their money exponentially if they invest in early. And again, it can be a combination of the both. Whatever's going to get that investor excited enough to buy in. Telling your story, pitch deck. You now have this in-depth financial model. You have this written business plan that tells your story. You've got to be able to show that to somebody in 20 minutes or less. You will lose their attention if it's longer. So the rule, the 10, 20, 30 rule for pitch decks, no more than 10 slides, no longer than 20 minutes, no text smaller than 30 points. And for reference, those bullet points are in 30-point size. And rules need to be broken. I've seen really good pitch decks that go past the 10 slides. I've seen people do 3-slide pitch decks and get their message across. But this is a good rule. Key elements of a pitch deck: introduction, overview of the state process. The state process is important because if investors have been exposed to other states, they have a preconceived notion of what to expect in Minnesota, and it can be completely different. Minnesota is completely different than Michigan or Massachusetts or California. So you have to give an overview of the state and where it is today and where it should be 3 years from now. And that rolls right into your market opportunity, your 3-year financial modeling, go heavy into team experience, have a SWOT analysis, and then they ask, this is how much money we're seeking. Here's the terms we're suggesting. Here's the value statement to you. Then review it again. It seems like a lot of information to get in 10 slides, but you can combine them. So how much money you're seeking, your structure of terms, value statement, that can be one slide if structured right. Tailor your pitch to your audience. What will they consider most important key to your success? Drill that in, focus on it. And it's going to vary. If you're pitching to friends and family, they're interested in you. They know you, they trust you. Talk about what you're going to do to make this business successful. If you're pitching to a private equity fund, they want to know about the money and that you've got it planned out. So build your key focus on the fact that you're positioned for success. What will they consider the greatest risk? Address it. Don't wait for them to bring it up. Attack it. What type of investments do they make? You don't want to be going to a bank and meeting with Shelly and team and saying, we're doing it all equity, because that's not what a bank's looking for. So know what type of investments they make and cater your ask to those type of investments. What type of investment can they make? You're not going to ask friends and family for $1 million. Might be, a couple thousand each. But you're not going to ask a private equity investor for a couple $1,000s. They may have a minimum they want to lend. And do they have required terms? Some of the private equity firms out there in cannabis know exactly what they're looking for. And if you are able to schedule a pitch, you want to ask them, what are your required terms or your preferred terms? And then build your model, your pitch deck to what they're looking at. So at the end, you're hitting it on the head to begin with. Common pitch decks mistakes. The first one I see a lot is people tell a great story about their business. They paint this great picture of what it's going to look like, what it's going to do, and they never have a set financial ask. They're just throwing it out there and waiting for the investor to say, great, here's money. You have to have that specific financial ask. Unrealistic assumptions or valuations. You can't say I'm going to open a dispensary in Minnesota and it's going to be worth $60 million in 3 years. That's not how it works. So you have to have valuations that are realistic in today's market, not the 6-year-ago market. No backup for materials. You have this 3-year financial statement in your pitch deck, but there's no numbers to explain how you got there. Because if they're interested, they're going to say, okay, this is interesting. Let me see how you got here. Presenting wrong terms to audience. Already mentioned that. Make sure your equity or debt or combination is catered to who you're pitching to. And then also too much industry jargon. Just talking in the terms of pounds per square foot, grams. Tell the story in a way they can understand it if they're not from the industry. Passion doesn't build a business, but it certainly helps. Be passionate, but also be prepared. You need to have a plan. Funding is possible. It's out there, but it takes preparation, determination, and a willingness to adapt. You may have a vision right now of what this is going to look like. Let's say you're a mezzo pre-approved and you're picturing your 3 locations, your 15,000 square feet of flowering canopy, beautiful building. You might not be able to start on all of that at once. Adapt to getting part of your business licensed and operating within that 18 months, get it cash flowing, and adapt to what you can raise so you can keep that vision and work towards it. But maybe it takes 5 years instead of 2. So that willingness to adapt will be very important as you encounter the reality of fundraising. Partners like Canna Advisors and United Prairie Bank can help get you there faster because we can help guide you, tell you what people are going to need. Shelly's team has been phenomenal in just helping people understand what they're going to need to have and giving them options. We do free consultations. So if there's any questions, you can reach out and, whether it's, plans of final operation to get your inspection, financial modeling, business planning, pitch decks, whatever you need right now, we can talk to you. If you've got something and you just want somebody's eyes on it, more than happy to have that conversation. And I know Shelly and team are interested in meeting with as many potential cannabis businesses as possible to help you get up and running.
Absolutely, Bob. That's 100% correct. And so I think we're at a point that we'd love to hear from all of you. What questions, what type of things are going through your minds right now that we can help guide or answer today to help you get where you want to go? I did see a comment in the chat when we were talking about your target markets. I absolutely completely agree. Urban, kind of think on the lines of 3 to 5 miles. If you're more in a suburban market, you can stretch to 5 to 10. And if you are really truly in a rural area, you're probably looking at more of a 10 to 15 mile type of
Yeah.
radius around you. So very, very much great benchmarks there
Yeah.
and
And Shelly,
standards to use.
I usually explain to people that as the market's maturing, cannabis dispensaries become like liquor stores. People will go to the store that's closest to them, that has the selection they want at reasonable prices. So that, if you're located near a population base, but there's another store halfway across that population base, people are going to go to the one that's closest to them. Now, there are things you can do to win market share. That's part of the competitive game. But think of it as if you know your community, how far do you go to a liquor store? Or why do you go to that liquor store? And that's the same type of demographic breakdown you'll have for dispensaries.
So what kind of questions does anyone have? You know, here at United Prairie Bank, and I have Justin here who can talk all day on all of these topics. But if you're looking at where you need a traditional loan, we do your traditional loans from your real estate and your build out to, what does it look like from a line of credit? Maybe you need, an operating line. We can have that conversation. And again, we're going to talk through what is your business model, what are your plans, what are your projections? What else do you have going on? And we're going to want to be able to talk through that with you so that we can put the right solution together. Justin, I'll kind of give it to you as well and highlight it there.
Sure. I think one of the things that, I just want to share is that amongst I can't even estimate how many people I've spoken with in the last, especially probably 4 months. But I've got one client in particular that I think is just the epitome of flexibility. Just their story is compelling, and they've kind of touched on all of these different areas. They came to me initially with a, shell of a building that was financed by themselves and their family. Came to me with, a desire to navigate a loan for the build out of their operation. And, now we're, right on the cusp of getting that finalized funding, getting that ready. And then once that's, truly up and running, it's the operational, line of credit. And, what's needed to, revolve and, take care of those, what ifs and those twists and turns that come with getting a crop from, from seed to store. And so there's just so many different, variables But I'm really, really proud of this client for just the adaptability that they've shown, the way that they've, just controlled the controllables. There's a lot of different, variables that we've all seen, whether it's just waiting on OCM or, navigating internal dynamics with a team or finding locations. There's just so many variables, and I'm just incredibly proud of this individual client for being so incredibly just dialed in on what they can truly control at the time and owning and championing those details. And I mean, I'm talking their financial model and their true ask was, this is a little extreme, but they were dialed down to the cost of, the toilet brush for their facility and everything in between. And so, there's again just so many control or uncontrollable variables, and I just really, really applaud those that are coming into conversations with the best understanding of what they can bring to the market that's a differentiator. Everyone that I've talked to, has a commitment to grow the absolute best product. That is an absolute universal truth. I've never met anyone who says, "Hey, I want to grow, you know, low grade cannabis." That's never been said. But what really gets me excited is those value propositions of, what that differentiation looks like and what they're going to try to bring to the market that's just a bit different from others. And so, finding what allows you to, bring your own spin on the marketplace. I'm working with everybody from uh, the retail operators to large cultivation facilities. I'm actually really excited about a facility that we've been going back and forth with here for a couple weeks. That rather than building out a $12 million building, they actually just found a building that came to market, and they're ready to move and adapt their plans to be able to come to market about 6 months earlier than anticipated. So it's a ride. Everyone's journey is a bit different, but embrace the challenge, embrace change, and enjoy the journey.
Yeah, and Justin, one of the things I enjoy, having done this in a lot of states, is going back a year or two after things get up and running and visiting the open businesses and
Yeah.
seeing, the dream that people had come to life. It's very satisfying.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that I want to give, to the group, just kind of as early hindsight, is, be okay thinking of your business journey not as a linear timeline. Um, Conversations recently with one cultivator was, they ended up actually moving some equity from an original partner back to themselves and awarded it to someone else. And, the conversation of, this is my dream, this is what I've been doing, this is what I've been invested in, and I'm not sure if I want to give equity. And my conversation with them was that, this isn't a forever thing. This is what you need to do to get across the finish line. I would much rather own 85% of something successful than 100% of something that flops. And that individual client has a plan for the third, fourth year where, right now they needed that, equity stake to be shared to, get to operation, but their plan for buying out that, other partner long term, is in their financial model. And so, just understanding that there are seasons to your business, and for right now, just embrace the season you're in, understand what it takes to get started. Every person that knows phenomenal people that you've never met, and share your story, live your story, and people are only going to get as excited about your venture as you do. So invite people to be excited for you, to be advocates for you. And if myself, my team can help, we'd love to position our team as a resource.
Mhm. What Justin was saying there as well, just to kind of double tap on that, is, customers, if you're coming to us and you start sharing your story, just like Bob, we actually work very closely with Bob and are sending customers to Bob. Bob sends customers our way, but we're making connections for you. We help you be able to make that connection on, I'll use a cultivator, for example. Do you need a builder that's going to help you build that out? Do you need someone that really truly understands what the HVAC requirements are going to be or what the lighting requirements will look like? We can help bridge that as well by either partnering with Bob or providing you with additional advisors in the industry of making sure that you're thinking about all of those things and those things are incorporated into your plans so that we can really give you the right support and build out the business exactly the way that you're going to need it so that you can be successful.
And having a realistic understanding of what those expenses are for your own knowledge, but also so that your financial model looks credible. So, what does it cost to put that security system in? What does it cost to get the facility diagrams required for your final plans? These are all things that you're going to encounter at some point, and they need to be accounted for in your modeling.
Right. I want to reach back out to all of the audience. Any questions out there? Anything that we can dig a little deeper for you on or answer for you? Use cases you'd like us to walk through?
I think we're hitting that 45-minute mark. So if certainly glad to address any questions, but if not,
we've got something
turn it
coming in
over
the chat here, Bob. We got someone typing. So
okay.
Wonderful.
We will be posting a recorded version of this. It'll be available on our website, and Shelly and Justin will have copies as well. So it'll be out there to view or pass along to teammates. And then obviously look forward to talking to people individually and customizing to needs.
Absolutely. Justin, are you able to highlight? It's a question. First question is, did you guys share standard rates for build out loans?
Sure. So, when we navigate lending, we really want to get the best understanding of the building, the borrower, the process. And so there are a few different factors, but typically I'm working in the space of prime plus 1.5, and kind of going from there. So prime rate changes daily. So if it's 7% today, 8.5 would be a reasonable expectation. And so I hope that helps a little bit. This certainly isn't something where, we're not in the 20s. This again, we're by history and culture, we're an agricultural bank. And so we don't view cannabis cultivation any different than we would view corn, soybeans, wheat. There's just some layers and expenses on the compliance verification component so that we're doing things properly and protecting not only ourselves but continuing to be a good steward of the cannabis community.
Exactly.
Which is phenomenal because over the years, everybody's always added their cannabis premium, a couple extra percentage points to loans, to banking fees. So it's great to see it handled as agriculture.
I saw another message. Yeah, we will do lending for cannabis equipment. We have certain loan to value percentages that we'll do for certain components of operational equipment. So I'd be happy to have a detailed conversation and help you navigate those options.
Correct. Bob, we do have one more question. There was ask for confirmation of where we will be posting the webinar.
So our website, Canna Advisors website is thinkcanna.com. And we have an events tab that will have prior webinars posted for review.
So again,
thinkcanna.com.
Exactly. I'm just putting it in the chat so everyone can find that.
And then we have an events tab.
It'll be listed there. So just to add on to what Justin was talking about as well, we like to look at the traditional lending for your equipment. If that is not a route or it's not optimal, we can have a conversation if leasing needs to be an option, something we're still in the very infancy stages of that, but it is something that we can have a conversation around if that is a better option for you.
Allison, you can certainly shoot me an email. And my email address is jday, so first initial last name, at unitedprairiebank.com.
I'm going to stick Justin's easy email in there.
No, yeah, the abbreviated version. Perfect.
These are great questions. And please, team, for all of you on the call, this is an industry everyone is still learning. There's so many questions out there. No one's going to be asking a question that someone else isn't thinking already. So please be asking. And, we can give some more scenarios as well. We really, truly we seek to understand you. What are your needs? We want to really understand you as a person. We want to understand what is your vision. We want to understand what you're thinking of and how you want to grow this business. And that's how we're going to help support you. And what does that look like?
Sure. I see John's question. So can you provide funding for a leased building, or is it only for purchased buildings? So I'm going to assume, are we discussing like the tenants improvements where we're trying to fund the build out of a leased building? We absolutely can do that. It just depends on collateral positions and what those opportunities look like. Right now I'm funding the tenants improvements and the build out for actually it was an old school and now it's being renovated to be a cannabis cultivation facility. So there's a separate entity that owns the school. I'm actually working with the entity that will be operating in the space, and we're actually, funding that build out and using some farmland actually as the collateral for that project. So if that's something I can help with, I'd be happy to, navigate a conversation on that.
All right, Bob, I'm not seeing any other questions.
Perfect. So I encourage people to reach out, whether you have a question specifically for Justin or Shelly or Canna advisors, reach out. We're happy to jump on calls, walk you through. I mean, we really enjoy helping people learn this industry, get their businesses up and running successfully. And many of the decisions you're making today are going to determine whether or not your business is a successful long time. So don't hesitate. We can give you examples of what we've seen in other markets and help you get from here to where you want to be.
That's
so thank you,
perfect.
everybody.
That is perfect. Yes, exactly. Thank you, everyone. And we look forward to having a conversation with you. All right. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.